We have the shaft here sticking out, double roller bearings, tapered roller bearings. We're going to flip it up, get the cap off the other end. We'll see if we can get that out. Truck, semi-truck brake drum. Perfect. There's just enough hex left on those. Oh, they're not very tight. I think I'll replace those so there's more hex. Now that's messy, but at least it's liquid, not solid like everything else has been. Should be a hole, threaded hole in the end so you can screw something in and pull it out. So the shaft will come out, that's no problem. This ring has to come off, and this bearing, these have to slip off first. This should all just slip off. I think the bearing's loose. Yeah, the bearing's loose. So I might have to file, I'll have to file that down maybe a little bit. Oh, there. Oh, that's loose. It just running into some interference. Set screw marks. There we go. There we go. You end up getting your hands dirty on stuff like this. Don't come work for me if you don't want to get your hands dirty. This is the drive end of the yoke. So the big pulley will be mounted here for the motor to drive, and then this is the pinion gear to turn the drum. Now, I freed this up. I took this grease fitting out and started pumping in WD-40 in there to loosen and dissolve that grease, and it's now pretty free, but I want to get this apart. This was a bear. I already got it apart. So this sleeve was on here. This key, it's a thin key, was in here, and the sleeve is over the key, and the key barely protruded into this hole. Now a large set screw goes in here and locks on, lock the pulley on, I should say, okay? The large pulley, V-belt pulley. And this is in here and it's flush with the shaft. Now why that key is in there, other than to maybe, I don't know why. Let me put it this way, I just don't know why. Because there is a slight keyway in here. It's only 20 thousandths maybe deep, and so it locked this in place in a way, kind of. What I was able to do, I couldn't get the key to budge, and I tried all sorts of things, but this, since this was flush with the surface of the shaft, I was able to just punch on here, because I can make a new one of these, and I got a punch on there and got it to move, and I was able to drive this right out over the key. Then I was able to knock the key out. So that's not a problem. I could either just fix this up or I'll just make a new one. Now this is loose. Now this spun on here freely, this piece. And it had two holes on the end, and I was able to get this loose and moving. And now I cleaned up the shaft a little bit, and the burrs off and things like that. And you'll see here they broke off, somebody broke off a set screw or something in this hole here. And now I got this off. This is a backup ring. In here is a tapered roller bearing. So there must be two tapered roller bearings in here. Should be able to see in there. I'm going to try, I'd like to get this out, right? So I need to get that bearing to come off. There, that's moving. Bigger hammer. Beautiful. Tapered roller bearing. Yeah, pulled right out. Another type of roller bearing, something we can clean up and do something with. Now that's about a foot long, inch and a quarter, maybe a little more diameter. Nice gear. They've keyed it on and they've center punched and staked that on. But I can undo that if I have to and get this bearing off. We'll. Oh, that grease is just solidified on there. This is going to be a little bit of a bear to chisel and clean up. Those bearings they don't look rusted. There's plenty of grease, it looks like, in there, protecting them at least. So they should work. For what this is, they should work. But we'll have to fix the adjustment. There's too much end play in it for sure, and we'll have to do something about that. How to maintain that down to a 0. This is still the drive end. These are the main journals. There's one on each end. And they aren't round. And they're different sizes. This one is about 20 thousandths out of round. And the other end's about almost 40 thousandths out of round. They were obviously machined. Whether they just became out of round or what, I'm not sure. I mean, it's just to rotate the drum. I haven't tried to measure the journal or the bearing caps together or anything to see what kind of gap we have yet, but these aren't round. And I can't put this in a lathe. I need about 24-inch lathe, swing lathe to do this, to turn this. Or I need a horizontal boring mill or something like that. Anyway, all the possibilities. Right now we're just going to clean it up. Well, here's our little jack shaft, and this is basically acts as a speed reducer. 1720 RPM motor, 3-inch pulley to a 7-inch pulley to a 2 3/4 pulley to a 15-inch pulley, and then the gears on the drum. It all comes down to about 18.5 RPM, 19 RPM. And on their data plate, that's what they want. That's what the drum's supposed to turn at, is 19 RPM. So this will be going back in, obviously. It's very old. It's one of these pivoting, self-aligning type pillow block sleeve, but they're just plain bearings in there. They don't feel too bad as far as play goes. There's a little bit. Yeah, we'll see how it is and see where we have and whether I rebush these or not. I have some stock, but boy, it's crusty. This thing is really bad. Very old oil and grease built up on here, and we'll obviously the end play issue is these stops are way out of adjustment. I think we're just going to knock this apart and there you go. Those just unloosen these little pivots and off it came. Well, remember what these look like. I already scraped a little bit, but pretty nasty. Wait till I get them cleaned up.